Working now? Hopefully, maybe. Oh, what's going on? Everything's just sort of screwing up. What's going on? There it is. So streams up, chat's up. See if the audio is working. Yeah, audio is working as it should. The birds are really noisy outside. You're going to listen to them. Alright, so everything should be working now. Sorry, folks. There was some technical difficulties with the game and PlayStation in general. They're being seriously annoying. So, everything should be working now. I think we've got the technical gremlins out of the way. So we should be set for the rest of the race session. We should be uninterrupted. Hopefully. Hello everyone, and welcome to round 11 of the America's Tier 1 Championship here on Race Spec Esports. I'm Lane Everingham, your commentator for this event, and tonight we'll be racing at Circuit Paul Ricard for the French Grand Prix. This 3.63 mile, 15 turn circuit was created in 1969 near the town of Le Castellet and has hosted Formula 1 Grand Prix since 1971. The most unique feature of this iconic French circuit is the insane amount of runoff area around every corner. The feature makes it almost impossible for a driver to crash into a barrier after having an accident, but let me assure you from my experiences as a commentator, it's not entirely impossible. Around the circuit there are two DRS zones, one that leads down the main straight into turn 1, the other leads down the Mistral straight into turns 8 and 9. These will prove to be the most optimal overtaking areas around the circuit, although drivers can try and pass into the right-handers of turn 3 and turn 11. But even with the opportunities, it will prove to be difficult to try and make moves over the course of the race, which makes qualifying all that more important. Now, before we focus on this qualifying session, or what's left of it, there is a bit of news to go through first from last week's race in Australia. There were two incident reports, one involving KD 1997 and Saucy, the other involving Professor Phil and Saucy. Both came up as no further action from the stewards, so no time penalties were dished out at all, and as a result the final finishing positions from last week's race remain unchanged. And that was last week's race in Silverstone, I might add, not in Australia. In the Drivers' Championship, Mighty Wombat is leading the way on 201 points, followed by Saucy on 194. Only 7 points separating the top two in the Drivers' Championship. P3 is Rebellion on 164, followed by Tom on 163. Then Blockman on 161, really tight between P3, 4 and 5 in the Championship. KD is P6 on 122, followed by Youngling on 97, Subfalime on 95, and VSR Jack on 93. Take It Easy rounds out the top 10 on 89 points. In the Constructors, Alpine are leading the way on 325 points, followed by Mercedes on 323, just 2 points separating the top two teams in the Constructors. McLaren are next on 258, followed by Aston Martin on 205. Ferrari are next on 147, followed by Williams on 103, Red Bull Racing on 87, Haas on 72, AlphaTauri on 54, and Alfa Romeo on 39 points. But that's it in terms of news. We can now focus on the rest of this qualifying session. At the moment, it's Blockman who's at the top of the table. It's currently an Alpine 1-2, with Rebel only 7 thousandths of a second behind his teammate. Following them is the two Mercedes-Benzes of KD and Mighty Wombat, and Saucy completes the top 5, 4 tenths of a second, just under 4 tenths, separating the top 5 places. Still got 5 cars yet to set lap times. Youngling is on his flying lap attempt, heading up towards turns 14 and 15 on the racetrack. Down to 4th gear, back on the accelerator as he heads around the final turn and onto the main straightaway. He'll open DRS here and head up towards the line. Youngling will set a 30.870. He goes 6th quickest overall. Professor Phil and Take It Easy on flying laps. Blockman getting ready. Saucy beginning a flying lap, making his way through turns 1 and 2. Tom getting ready for a lap. Mr. Nars getting ready. So it's Subfalime. One of the Mercs is about to begin. It's KD 1997. Tell you what, we're going to ride on board with the Season 6 Drivers' Champ. Give you a tour of this 3.6 mile racetrack. Down towards turn 1. Entry speed 204 miles an hour into the left-hander. Around the tricky right-hander of turn 2. You want to avoid the inside curve like KD did there. That inside curve can prove to be quite nasty. Through turn 3, into turn 4, down to 4th gear, and up towards turn 5, down to 3rd. Completing the first sector, he'll make his way around turn 6, and up towards turn 7, and head on to the Mistral Straight. He'll open DRS and head up towards the best overtaking spot on the circuit, the turn 8-9 chicane. Hard on the brakes, down to 4th gear. He'll make his way around the right-hander of turn 9 and back on to the Mistral Straight he'll go. Climbing up through the gears into 8th gear, heading up towards turn 10. An insignificant corner in these dry conditions. Now around turn 11, one of my favourite corners in all of Formula 1. 5th gear through both apexes of that right-hander. Now heading into the tricky turn 12, a very, very late apex around this left-hander, around the flat-out right of turn 13, then into the final 2 corners of the racetrack. Turn 14, this left-hander, and around the right-hander of turn 15. It's a very tight hairpin. It's one of my least favourite corners in all of Formula 1. Climbing up through the gears, up towards the line for KD, to 30.283. He improves by a 10.5, P3 at the moment. Mighty Wombat has invalidated his lap. Tom is up by 0.2 of a second to the first sector, but he's bailed on the lap. He's turned off the battery. He's just cruising around right now. His teammate sub for Lime, not exactly cruising. He's hauling down the long straightaway into turns 8 and 9. Down to 4th gear. He'll get back on the accelerator and back onto the Mistral Straight and head up towards the Scene Curve, turn 10. Now, I was informed by Sparty that we have dry conditions for the race, so no wet weather interference for the French Grand Prix. I'm sure a lot of the drivers are quite happy with the weather report as Blockman improves to a 30.154. See what Rebel, his teammate, can do in response. 2 corners left for sub full line. Coming out to turn 14 and heading around turn 15. 3rd gear, short shifting up to 4th. It's an incredibly common trope to see drivers exiting tight hairpins in 4th gear. There's really no use for any of the lower gears coming out of slow corners. You just get a bucket load of wheel spin if you use gears 1, 2 or 3. You're better off shifting it into gear 4 and using the torque and power of the hybrid system in the car. As I think that was Little Mick off the racetrack at turn 2. It was. Rebel looks like he might be on an in-lap, maybe. There's 5.5 minutes left in this qualifying session, so if Rebel's going to attempt a flying lap, he needs to keep an eye on that clock, because an out lap and an in lap here does take a fairly long time. You've got to remember, this racetrack is over 3.6 miles long, and in he comes. So he wasn't going to risk it and go out for a flying lap. He decides to come back into pit lane. He's going to put on another set of soft tyres, wait for the clock to run down so he can set the most optimal lap time during the session. The Pharmacist coming around the final 2 corners, turns 14 and 15 on the racetrack. Bring it down to 3rd gear, clip the apex, short shift up to 4th, up to 5th, up to 6th gear, a lot of short shifting. Up towards the line, it's a 31.782, improves by a shade over 0.7 of a second. He's up to P12, just in front of his teammate. Now a lot of drivers in the pit lane. Sparty's out on track. He's going to try and set a flying lap here. He'll switch on the battery exiting the final corner. He'll send it down the main straightaway towards turn 1. Entry speed, going to see 203 miles an hour indicated into turn 1 through turn 2. Very tidy exit out of the right-hander of 2. It's very important that you don't run too wide at the exit. Very easy to cop a warning running a bit too wide. Down to 2nd gear, short shifting up to 3rd, up to 4th. Tidy around turn 6, up to 5th gear now, 6th gear, through turn 7, 7th gear. You'll head down the Mistral straight, up towards the turn 8-9 chicane. Entry speed, 205 miles an hour indicated. Down to 4th gear, keeping it in 4th, exiting turn 9. It's been a pretty tidy lap so far from Sparty. Kept it within the white lines, the car looks good, car looks stable. Sending it round turn 10, absolutely flat out there. Now through turn 11, down to 5th gear. Modulating the brake and throttle all the way throughout the corner. Trying to get that rotation and also try and keep the grip. Exiting turn 12, heading around turn 13. Up towards turns 14 and 15. Bring it down to 4th gear. Modulate the throttle, bring it down to 3rd. Missing the apex by a chunk there. That's going to cost him time as he heads down the main straightaway. It's going to be a 1 minute 32.382. Goes in front of his teammate Flavius, who was set a 33.4. Saucy getting ready. He's making his way. That was through turn 2. I think he cut turn 2. Yeah, well, he's definitely cut that. And no matter which way you cut it, that's a no-no. He might be rung up for that if anyone decides to report it. That's always a no-no. You're not allowed to do that. So, we'll see what Saucy does. Keep an eye on him. 2 Mercs are out on track. Tom has stopped. That's at turn 1. He's letting Flavius through. He's just started a flying lap. The first driver to attempt a flying lap will be Saucy, making his way through the final part of the lap. Big lift through turn 10 for whatever reason. Big lift again through turn 11, taking it nice and steady. Hopefully he's got temperature in those tyres. Having cold tyres at the start of the lap, you really feel how little grip you can have. Especially through very tricky turns like turns 1 and 2. You need to have plenty of grip through those corners, and it seems that Saucy is going to attempt a flying lap. Making his way out to the final corner, turn 15. He'll send it down the main straightaway and up towards the start-finish line. 8th gear, he'll begin his lap. Currently P4 with a 30.3. He will need to improve by a little over 0.2 of a second if he wants to challenge for pole position. Up towards turn 3. 7th gear. Bring it down to 5th gear. He cut too much. At turn 3, his final run has been invalidated. KD on his final flying lap attempt. Currently P3 with a 30.283. He will need to improve by just under 1/10.5 to try and take pole position. Through turn 3, through turn 4, up towards turn 5, down to 3rd gear, heading around turn 6. He's up by 0.5 to the first sector. Rebel on a flying lap, currently P2 with a 30.277. He needs to improve by a little over 1/10, and he invalidates at turn 3, same way that Saucy did. So that's it for Rebel. Qualifying is done. Blockman making his way through turns 1 and 2. Running a tad bit wide, but fortunately no warning. Up towards turn 3. No warning from our current pole sitter. What about KD? To the middle sector, he's up by a little over 1/10.5. He's making his way around turn 11, exiting in 5th gear. Climbing up through the gearbox, heading around turn 12. Down to 4th. Back on the accelerator, nice and tidy through turn 13. 2 corners remain, 14 and 15. Brings it down to 4th gear, gets back on the accelerator, keeps it in 4th around the final corner. Now down the main straightaway he'll go. Will he improve? Can he take pole? The answer is yes. He does a 30.147. He's taken pole by 0.07 of a second, but Blockman's on a better lap. He's making his way through the final sector. up towards turn 12. He gets on the brakes, brings it down to third gear, gets back on the accelerator as, oh, who's that? Who's just improved? I think it was Youngling, has jumped up to P6. Mighty Wombat P5, RF1 Tom P7. Very tight in the mid-pack. Blockman here. He's going to try and take pole position away from KD. Can he do it? Yes, he can. He improves by half a second to set a 29.650. That is a mega final lap right at the end of qualifying. Finding so much time. Well, there we are. Hell of a statement from Blockman. Takes pole with a 29.650, beating KD's 30.147. Rebel will line up P3 after invalidating his final run. Saucy did the same in P4. Mighty Wombat will start P5, followed by Youngling in 6th. Tom 7th, then Little Mick in 8th. Mr. Nars in P9. Sulphurlime rounds out the top 10. Professor Phil will start P11, followed by the Harmacist in 12th. Sergeant Bill P13, then Take It Easy in 14th, Insane Sparty in 15th, John C in 16th, and Flavius will start from the back in P17. And that was some lap from Blockman as well. I think that was challenging time set in Pacific Tier 1. I think the pole time was a 29.6 as well, if I remember correctly. 29.28.6. I think it was a 29.6. Pretty certain it was. So no, that is a properly mega lap from Blockman right at the end of qualifying. Cemented himself right at the top of the table. Alright, just be waiting on everyone to confirm their setups. This will take a little while, as per usual in the Americas series. Sparty always gives time to the drivers to try and adjust setup, adjust their strategies, adjust what tyres they're going to start on for this Grand Prix. In Pacific Elite, it was a fairly convincing story. Everyone except for one driver started on the hard compound tyre. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a bit more of the same here in the American series. So, just pitting off the medium tyre and moving on to a set of hards during the race, you really are asking a lot of yourself, because those hard tyres do take forever to get up to temperature. At least when you start on the hard tyre, you get an entire formation lap where you cannot lose position. You can warm up your tyres as much as you need to. In the race, you don't have that same opportunity. You've got to do all the hard work to try and maintain position and warm up your tyres. It's not an easy thing to do. Yeah, I might have to find the old Twitch stream of Pacific Tier 1. Because, yeah, I'm pretty certain that was challenging the pole time set. I'm pretty certain it was. I'll double check. End of quali. I went a bit too far. Yeah, pole time 29.665. So the pole time set by Blockman would have put him on pole position for the Pacific Tier 1 race here at Paul Ricard. Now, in fairness, the conditions in Tier 1, Pacific Tier 1 and America's Tier 1 were probably a bit different, but that's still a mega effort by Blockman. 29.650 would have put him on pole position for Pacific Tier 1. That is a properly mega lap. Alright, who's starting on what tyre? I actually see mediums on Blockman's car. There's a few drivers starting on mediums, but there's a significant majority starting on the hards. We've got Blockman starting from pole position, with KD starting alongside him on the front row, both of them on the medium compound tyre. Rebel starting on hard compound tyres in P3. Interesting. So a mix of strategy between the two Alpine cars. We'll see which one gets it right. Saucy in P4 starting on the mediums. Mighty Wombat starting on the hard. So a similar strategy between Mercedes and Alpine. Both cars starting on different tyres. Youngling, P6, starting on the medium tyre. Then we have Tom in P7, Little Mick in P8, Mr. Nars in 9th, Subforline P10, Professor Phil P11, Bahamas P12, and his teammate Sergeant Bill starting in P13. They're all starting on the hard tyre. Take It Easy is starting on the mediums in P14. Insane Sparty doing the same in P15. Gee whiz. John starting P16 is on the hard tyre, and Flavius is doing the same in P17. So we have 6 cars starting on the mediums. That means 11 are starting on the hard compound tyre. Get rid of the tyre graphic for now. We'll get ready for the start. You can see it's absolutely clear here in Le Castellet. No signs of cloud cover anywhere. There's the pit stop strategy. So pit window lap 15 to 21. The pit window is actually a little bit earlier than the game suggests. Drivers can pit as early as lap 13, 14 to get onto the medium tyres. The mediums can last a little while around here. Just be waiting on those towards the back to line up into their respective grid slots. A lot of drivers missing their grid slots. Take It Easy, he's going to miss his grid slot. Oh no, he's actually counted. You're kidding. He's way out of his box. That's counted. Interesting. All 17 cars lined up ready to run. We have 10 red lights. We're underway here in Le Castellet. It's a nice start from Blockman. An even better one from KD. A terrific one from Rebel. He looks to the inside but doesn't have the momentum to challenge into turn 1. It's Blockman who leads. KD in 2nd. Rebel in 3rd. Followed by Saucy in 4th. And Mighty Wombat in P5. Some side-by-side action further back as Mr. Nars gets in front of Youngling, heading into turn 3. A dive bomb from a Haas in the background. That would have been John having a look at Subforline at turn 3. He's now having to defend his position a little bit as Wombat gets in front of Saucy. He moves into P4. Tom's on the attack, down the Mistral straight away. Oh, but doesn't have the straight line speed. Look at the cars in front, they're pulling away. Towards turn 8, hard on the brakes here, through the left-hander, into the right of turn 9, Take It Easy, overtakes Sergeant Bill. Bill fights back, that is for the final point-scoring spots. The harm assist was off the racetrack there at the exit of turn 9. He rejoins in 13th position. Still some battling going on between these two. We head around turn 10, Bill gets in front, Take It Easy, can't fight back. Insane Sparty has a look down the inside. Meanwhile, there's a battle on for P4. Wombat, Saucy, side by side through turn 13, up towards turn 14. Wombat with the inside line. Saucy now has the inside line through the final corner, back onto the main straightaway, forcing the Merc a little bit wide. He takes the position, he moves into 4th. But it is still Blockman who leads. Tom on the back of Wombat. Can he do anything into turn 1? He looks but doesn't commit. The harm assist is into the pit lane, most likely for repairs. Up towards turns 3, 4 and 5. Chucking it through. Leaders getting through unscathed. Midfield doing the same. So yeah, minimal drama on the opening lap here at Circuit Paul Ricard. That's always good to see. The only driver who's found trouble, it seems, is the harm assist. He's now down in last, a long way behind the next car. Through turn 8, around turn 9. Blockman has the opportunity to try and drive away from the pack. Try and build up a margin. Current gap sits at 1.4 seconds as Tom gets by Wombat. Heading around the outside at turn 10. Wombat will try and fight here at turn 11. Not quite. Tom with the outside line. He was in the dominant position, so he hangs on to the place. Around turn 13, up towards 14 and 15. Sonar's under a little bit of pressure from Youngling in P8. Not the best of starts, I think, from the Williams driver. Yeah, down 2 positions. Little Mick down 2 as well. Biggest loser obviously the harm assist after whatever happened to him on the opening lap. Driver who's gained the most is actually John. He's up 4 places from P16 to P12. A solid start for the Haas driver. Oh, someone's taken out the poor little bollard on the inside of turn 3. See it disappear off into the distance there. Someone knocked it out of the way. 5 tenths is the gap between Tom and Mighty Wombat. The DRS enabled. That gap's going to shrink pretty quickly. 3.5 tenths. 3 tenths. 2.5 tenths. 2 tenths into turn 8. And around turn 9. Take it easy passes Sergeant Bill. That's for P13. Down the second half of the Mistral Straight. Just behind them is Youngling, who looks to the inside, heading towards turn 10. He gets in front. Mr. Nars can't fight back. Youngling moves into 7th position. Wombat putting a lot of pressure on RF1 Tom right now. With DRS enabled, he is able to keep right up with Tom's pace. Put him under pressure. Oh, not a great exit though out of turn 15. Bit sloppy there from Wombat, just letting the car meander out wide onto the curb. Costing him a few tenths as he heads round turn 1 into turn 2. Tidy run from both drivers. Heading up towards turn 3. Get on the anchors, cutting a lot there through 3. Probably could have afforded a better line through there, try and open up the corner a bit more. Rather than cut down on it early, try and cut as much as you can. Probably better off trying to open up the corner. That way there's less of a chance you get a track limits warning as well. DRS open, trying to close the gap. Not by enough though. Not close enough to challenge Tom right now. We'll move back up to this battle here for P2 on track. We have KD, Rebel and Saucy, P2, 3 and 4 in a train. Blockman's out in front and he's got a lead of 2.3 seconds. He's pulling away from KD. Exiting turn 11, heading up towards turn 12. Professor Phil putting Mr. Nars under a bit of pressure. This is the battle for P8. Phil loses time at the exit of turn 11 though. So a bit of a relief for Mr. Nars. He can concentrate throughout the rest of this sector. Doesn't have a Ferrari filling his wing mirrors. Wombat, can he get a better exit this time? Yeah, better. The curb doesn't screw him over as much as at the exit of the corner. Around turn 1. Into turn 2. Ooh, be careful with that curb. A little bit of lag there as well. That's okay. And now Youngling's joining the fray. We're going to have a 3-car fight for 5th. Head around turn 5. Up towards the critical right-hander of turn 6. Say it's critical because that corner will dictate how much speed you carry around turn 7 and how much speed you carry down the Mistral Straight. Rebel, KD, battling at turn 8. KD hangs on to the position. Wombat looking down the inside at turn 8. Moves up into 5th. Mr. Nars doing the same round the outside at turn 8. He moves into P8. Youngling watching the 2 in front, dueling it out for 5th. Tom to the inside at turn 10. They're side by side, heading towards turn 11. Tom has the nose in front, but Wombat has the grippier outside line. He's keeping the fight alive. Running a bit wide. He'll have the inside line here at turn 12. He gives... Oh, contact! Spinning! Round goes Tom! Oh, no! I thought there was room given. Evidently, there wasn't enough. Tom is sent round and tumbles down to 13th position. Oh, dear. That was looking like a terrific battle. It's ended prematurely. Youngling now only has 1 car in front of him to deal with, and that is Mighty Wombat. And the medium compound tyre is on too, so he needs to make up moves early, try and make full use of these medium tyres. Saucy on the back of Rebel. He was looking for a move through turn 3 and 4. You don't see that all too long. Oh, it's the race leader! Race leader Blockman has spun, exiting turn 6. Oh, he had such a comfortable lead. He was looking fantastic. He has thrown it away. Oh my goodness. KD is our new race leader. Meanwhile, Youngling gets by Mighty Wombat. That's for P5. Professor Phil getting back at Mr. Nars down the inside of turn 8. Moves into P7. Look at this tight battle here. All tightly bunched together. No room for error. Flashing red light on the back of Phil's car as well. He's low on battery as we head around turn 11. Tidy exit, heading up towards turn 12. Can't do much through this sector. You just have to be patient. Try and not lose too much time to the car in front. Heading around turn 15 onto the main straight. Wombat on the hard compound tyre. He's not going to have the outright pace compared to Youngling right now, so he just needs to stay within DRS. Try and save up some battery. He's on 14% right now. He doesn't need to push hard. He needs to realise that the pace, it's going to come later in the race. And he's on the medium tyre. Cutting a lot through turn 3. Yellow's out. That is the Harmacist spinning at turn 11. Rebel a bit too far behind KD right now to do anything here. KD, though, is low on battery. You can tell from the flashing light. Right on the back of the Silver Arrow. Tidy exit out of the chicane. Saucy's on the attack. He's on the overtake button as well. Closing in on the Alpine. Round turn 10. Will he go for a move here at turn 11? He looks. Contact! Oh, that was never going to work. Saucy, what were you thinking? He just sent it in there. Contact was only inevitable. Oh my word. No way you were far enough alongside to try something like that. Needed to check up the car much earlier. Well, thankfully you're still in the race, but my word. That could have been really nasty. Down the main straightaway, Youngling now gets some DRS assistance. You have to save a little bit of battery. Probably more importantly, catch up to Saucy, try and make up some more positions. As both of these guys are on the same strategy, they're both on the medium compound tyre. I'll tell you what, right now, Rebel's put himself in quite a tidy position. Currently P2 on the hard compound tyre. All of his rivals are on the mediums, and they're making mistakes. So, yeah, Rebel's going to be in a very strong position. Blockman isn't out of this yet either. He's got fairly worn out tyres, I imagine, after his spin. But he still has pace. He demonstrated that during qualifying. So, he's not out of the fray either. KD out in front. Still low on battery, only 11%. So, you know, KD's got the clear track in front. He's allowed to push as hard as he needs to, but ultimately, Rebel, he just needs to stay within a second. He'll get DRS and he'll gain a chunk of time down the straightaways. Youngling trying to close up on Saucy with all of the with Youngling getting DRS. Wombat isn't able to close in as much, so he's now 7/10 back in P6. Oh, tight coming out to turn 12. John C. and take it easy, battling for position. Oh no, another desperate send. Take it easy spins, and so does John. Oh my word, these fellas are really desperate today. They're trying to make moves stick that just can't stick. Can't just send it down the inside when someone's committed to the apex. Oh, as KD gives himself a 3-second time penalty. Oh dearie me. You can't. Oh, and he spins as well. Oh my goodness me. Gets going again. He's now behind his teammate. He's down to P6. Rebel's just being handed this. He's on the alternate strategy. He's going to be on the faster tyre at the end of this race. Basically, everything's going his way right now. And even that contact he had with Saucy, he was lucky enough he didn't get spun from that. Oh, and KD spins again, this time at the exit of turn 9. Tyres didn't cool enough after his earlier spin, and when he got on the throttle exiting turn 9, the overheated tyres, they just give way. So he's now down in P11. That just rubs a lot of salt into the wound, doesn't it? Unfortunately, though, for KD, it's all self-inflicted wounds. So needs to get back on it. Maybe needs a bit of luck to go his way with a safety car. Around the final corner. Got this midfield pack. Phil leading it. KD's in the pits. And retires from the session. So he's waved the white flag. He's surrendered. He's had enough. Through turn 1 into turn 2. Tom's got some positions to make up as well. Through turn 3 into turn 4. Around turn 5. Oh, accelerator pedal broke. Right. Well, that's even worse. I thought it might be overheated tyres. Okay, the accelerator pedal broke. Well, that's all the more reason to retire in the pit lane with an actual mechanical, technical failure. So that's really unfortunate. Well, right now, yeah, this is Rebel's race. After everything that's happened, Blockman spinning, Saucy going for a move that never was going to work, and KD having his pedal braking on his on his box. Yeah, Rebel's sort of been handed this. It's now down to Rebel himself to not throw it away. I'll also be fascinated to see the pace difference between Blockman and Rebel when they switch compounds, when Rebel moves on to the mediums and Blockman moves on to the hard tyre. Will Blockman still have enough pace to challenge his teammate? Phil, maintaining what is now 6th position, still has Mr. Nars behind, and Little Mick and Subforline. They'll make their way through turn 3 into turn 4. Around turn 5. Nice and tidy out of turn 6, no troubles here. Around turn 7. Subforline. Just not quite close enough. When the car in front has DRS, so difficult to catch up. So very difficult to catch up. Sergeant Bill closing in on John. Not buying enough though to attack. Tom's in this as well. So we'll make our way out of turn 9, heading back onto the Mistral Straight. Tom doesn't quite have the straight line speed to close in on Sergeant Bill. Closes in a little bit through the corner of turn 10. Closes in some more through turn 11. Nice and steady as Blockman pits. He's in. Youngling doing the same. I think Saucy's staying out for another lap. Alright, you found the problem, KD, with the pedal. Oh, okay, the spring actually came off. Interesting. Well, you've experienced, KD, an actual mechanical failure. How about that? An actual mechanical failure. You're first. So, you know, take that as the experience. You know, you get to experience what real drivers have to deal with, every so often when something just breaks, and that's it. Game over. The Hamas has a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Tom gets by Sergeant Bill. That was for P9. He'll be closing in on John C. Oh no, Bill gets him back. Tom makes a mistake, that's why. That's at turn 8. Interesting place to spin. He now moves behind Blockman, who's made his one and only stop in this Grand Prix. It's not going all too well for the McLaren driver right now. Saucy's in. So where does he come out relative to Blockman? Indeed, so. That's a really awful thing about luck. You've got no way of controlling it. I mean, you can put a good race together, the car can feel good. You know, you're running fine, trouble-free, and then fate has something in store for you, and you can't do a thing about it. Blockman moves in front. Here comes Tom. Ooh. That's probably the most awkward thing about Circuit Paul Ricard. Pit exit is terrible. Like, it literally just vomits the driver back onto the racing line. And you see there with Saucy, he sort of moved away from the racetrack just to make sure Tom had enough room to not hit him when he was making his way out of the pits. Look at Rebel now. Clear track in front, clear track behind. He's got a license to drive as hard as he needs to. I imagine he might be thinking of pitting at lap 14. That's when I would pit. I would rather get onto the medium tyre earlier rather than wait later. Youngling, 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. So I reckon at the end of this lap, Rebel will pit. Just wait and see. Mr. Nye still behind Professor Phil. I reckon this battle will only be sorted through strategy. These guys seem pretty even in pace right now. Someone needs to try and undercut. Moving across, trying to break the slipstream. Mr. Narzo with DRS open. He's closing the gap. Not by enough though to attack into turn 1. Blockman sets a new fastest lap. He closes in on Bill. Through turn 1, can't make the move. Through turn 2. Heading up towards turn 3 as Tom gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Dumping the battery, looking to the inside. It's tight. Through turn 2, that's good driving from both Blockman and Bill. Ultimately, the Alpine driver moves forward into P8. Sergeant Bill down to 9th. Now, that was very good, very tidy, very respectful racing between those two. Again, Mr. Nars always close, but not quite close enough to attack his rival. Just sort of waiting for a mistake, for an opportunity to arise. Rebel, will he pit? On my predicted lap, he will. What do you know, I was right. Lap 14. Gets it pulled up nicely. No 5-second time penalty for Rebel. Wombat's in as well. See the mechanics getting out there, getting ready. Medium tyres will be put on Rebel's car. Where will he come out relative to his teammate? That is the question. His teammate is right behind John C right now, who is coming out to the final corner. You can actually see him in the corner of the screen. So Blockman will get in front. That undercut on the hard tyres worked a treat. And now his teammates on the mediums, on fresh mediums at that. Going to be quite quick. Tom trying to apply pressure to Saucy's on fresh tyres. Those 14 lap old hards though, I imagine he won't be able to do much. Saucy closing in on Rebel. Will we see a battle between these two again? Rebel won't be getting DRS, I think. Or maybe he will. Or he will. Just. Only just. as Phil and Nas battle for position. Blockman gets in front of John. Phil hangs on to the race lead coming out of the chicane. Mr. Nas closing in. Little Mick hovering behind. We head around turn 10 and up towards turn 11. Oh, Nas always so close. Can't find a way through. Nas is saying that is the widest Ferrari I've ever seen. Possible to pass. Will they pit in? Phil is. Mr. Nas overtakes him! Oh, that might be looked at by the stewards, but if that turns out to be penalty 3, that is a genius move! Overtaking Professor Phil at pit entry! What a dastardly overtake! I don't know if that's legal. That was cool! That was really cool. Oh, alright. Yeah, that's the first time I've ever seen that in my league racing career. Someone made an overtake at pit entry. Oh, that's a new one. I've seen 500, 600 online league races. I haven't seen that before. Oh, Smarty spinning out at the final corner. Mr. Nas up the line, battling away. Mr. Nas on fresh tyres. So is Professor Phil. Keep our eyes on this, shall we? Now, I'm surprised of the pace demonstrated by Blockman. He has been properly rapid on those hard tyres. Credit where credit is due. Blockman is driving superbly. If it weren't for that spin, he'd be leading by a mile. Literally. Little Mick into pit lane. John stays out. Fair enough as well. Mick and John are teammates. Oh, that's not good. Tom just gave himself a time penalty. Here comes Rebel to move through into second position. The gap now sits at 3.3 seconds between the two Alpines. Mighty Wombat sets a new fastest lap with a 33.5. He's currently P6 behind Youngling in the Williams. Armistice a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Professor Phil, Little Mick battling away. Mick loses control and Mr. Nas moves through. The Mick on cold tyres wasn't able to grip his way through turns 1 and 2. He rather skated his way on cold tyres. Saucy moves by John. It's a fairly simple move. John down to 4th. Saucy up to 3rd. Down the Mistral straight. Sub for Lime with Professor Phil in tow, making their way through turn 8 and turn 9. Meanwhile, Sergeant Bill closing in on RF1 Tom. Not by enough though to attack into turn 8. John, he'll be losing chunks of time to those in front. And those old tyres, he's surely pitting this lap. No, he's going to stay out. Going to run long on these hard tyres. Missing the apex, so at the final corner would have cost him time. Youngling with DRS open. Trying to close the gap up to John. John had DRS down the main straight. So Youngling wasn't able to close in as much as he would have liked. But now John is outside of that 1 second range. So the Haas driver is going to be pretty vulnerable to Youngling in a few moments' time. Subflime holding P7. Phil, though, very much in the tow. So I reckon this is going to be an ongoing battle for 7th. Better keep tabs on this as the laps tick on. Youngling down the inside, moves through into 4th, John down to 5th, now Mighty Wombat joins the battle. A poor exit from John, as you'd expect on those tyres. Wombat switches on the battery and moves by into P5. John then slots back into the slipstream, a butt ton of understeer through turn 10 there. And now Wombat has his sights set on Youngling in P4. Gap between the top two sits at 3.2 seconds, so Blockman's stint on the hard tyre has been extremely impressive. He utilised the pace of the tyre very early. He's able to build a gap to his teammate and maintain the gap, even though his teammate is on younger and grippier tyres. It's very good driving from Blockman right now. Oh, Phil getting close. Looking around the outside, heading towards turn 1. Phil gets in front, swoops around the long way, moves through into 7th place. A fine move. Good driving from Lime as well, making sure he doesn't run into his rival. And the battle isn't over yet either. Lime will get DRS down the Mistral straight. He will have an opportunity to try and counter-attack. Mighty Wombat. Close, but not close enough. Sub for Lime, now 6/10 behind Professor Phil. Utilising the power of DRS to try and close the gap back. Finds a couple of tenths down the Mistral straight. Wombat getting close, looking to the inside, heading into turn 11, it's tight. They both get through the first apex, down the inside of the second apex. Wombat, he was looking, he was game for a move there at turn 11. Couldn't pull it off, but incredible driving from both him and Youngling to get through turn 11 without making contact. Or at least... Oh, never mind. As Youngling misses the corner, he now has Wombat directly alongside him, and with the power of DRS, Wombat moves through into 4th. One simple mistake, that's all it takes. John will move onto the medium compound tyre. He's going to drop down the order. Oh no, it's going to be a set of softs. Okay. Fair call, might as well try something. Might as well try something. Doesn't hurt to try. Mr. Nars applying a lot of pressure to Sub for Lime, who doesn't quite have the venom to try and attack Professor Phil. Phil's at a comfy 7/10 in front of Sub for Lime, so Sub, he's got a lot of work to do to try and catch up. Probably more importantly, he needs to be worried about staying within the toe of Professor Phil, because as soon as he loses it, he's going to be pretty vulnerable to Mr. Nars and Lil Mick. These guys look pretty quick here in the mid-pack. Heading down the second half of the Mistral straight. There is Professor Phil. Enjoying the clear air. He's driving quite well in P6. How many positions has he made up? He's made up 5 spots. Qualified 11th. Up in P6 right now. Sub for Lime having a pretty tidy race himself. Up in 7th position. Other tidy races. We have John C up 4. And he's on the soft tyre right now, so he's going to be pretty rapid. He'll catch up to Sergeant Bill in no time, I reckon. Yellows, yellows, yellows. It's Sparty, who has spun at turn 9. Down in P14, his teammate P15. And the Harmacist, who's had no luck. In terms of safety cars, he's down in P16 after what happened on the opening lap. Nars, Lime, side by side through turn 1 into turn 2. Nars gets in front. Tidy move there. Sub for Lime down to P8. Saucy a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Coming out to turn 5, heading around turn 6. Mr. Nars will get some DRS assistance. He'll keep Lime at bay. Can he close in on Phil? That is the question. At the moment he is. Gap shrinks to 8 tenths, 7.5 tenths as John gets by Sergeant Bill. That was at turn 7, so John moves through into 11th place. There's this midfield pack still dueling it out. Phil looks good right now. Can Mr. Nars close in and apply pressure to the Ferrari driver through turn 11? This double apex right-hander. It has an early apex and a late apex you need to hit through that corner. Around turn 12, which has a very, very late apex you need to hit. You need to open up the entry into the corner. Try and close in very late towards the inside curb. Coming out to turn 15, heading down the main straightaway. Gap sits at 6 tenths of a second. That gap is closing bit by bit. Through turn 1, into turn 2. Mighty Wombat closing in on Saucy. We might have a battle on track for 3rd place, but as you can kind of see, penalties are ultimately going to determine Saucy's fate. Unless, of course, Mighty Wombat makes some sort of mistake. Phil's opened up a gap to Mr. Nars. Sub for Lime. Closing in right on the back of the Red Bull. Has a peep down the inside at turn 8, but doesn't fully commit to a move. Bit of a wiggle there as well. Losing him a bit of time. And the next part of the straight. Phil looks good right now. Phil looks really good in P6. I wouldn't be surprised if he was given driver of the day when the checkered flag falls. He just needs to make sure he doesn't make a mistake. Now, this isn't Mighty Wombat. That's Mighty Wombat. Game was looking at Youngling. There's the harm assist in pit lane. Put on another set of tyres. He's now a lap down. He'll try and snag fastest lap. Top 15 score points here in Race Spec, but anyone in the field can try and score fastest lap. Up towards turn 3. Wombat, he doesn't need to do anything. He's a bit too far behind the 2 Alpines to try and challenge them now, so it's all about 3rd place right here, right now. Just needs to consolidate, not drive. Excuse me. Not drive too silly. Mr. Nars. Can he do anything to challenge Professor Phil? Phil looks very comfortable. There's RF1 Tom. He's not too far behind this train. Fortunately, he's got 8 seconds worth of time penalties. Through turn 8. Into turn 9. Phil has Mr. Nars closing in on him little by little. It's going to be an interesting duel for P6 as we get closer to the checkered flag. Mighty Wombat in P4. Will he find a way through? Would he want to find a way through? Does he just want to follow Saucy? Let the penalty do all the talking? Who knows? Through turn 1, into turn 2. Gap sits at 2.5 tenths. Meanwhile, Mr. Nars, 4 tenths behind Professor Phil. He's got DRS open, sitting in the slipstream, closing the gap up. Little Mick applying pressure to Sub for Lime as well. So we've got little battles happening within the big battle itself. Got a little battle on for P6, a little battle on for P8, but they're all fighting for that 6th position. As Wombat gets by Saucy with the power of DRS and moves through into 3rd. Down the long Mistral straight, heading up towards the chicane. Mr. Nars close. Not close enough, I'm afraid. Wombat still has Saucy right behind him, so This on-track battle probably won't end, but again, ultimately, it'll be dictated by the penalties. Excuse me. It'll be dictated by the penalties that Saucy has. Out in front, though, Blockman driving well. His teammate Rebel right behind. These two have 3 laps to go. Wombat sets a new fastest lap, a 30.470. Bahamas does a new fastest lap, 32.882. Down towards turn 1. Again, no, it's close, not close enough. Tom's now joined the battle proper. He's only 1.1 seconds behind Little Mick. Saucy with DRS enabled. Closing the gap up to Wombat. Looks. Doesn't commit. Just stays behind. Will it be a similar story here between Phil and Nas? Nas is using the battery, sitting in the slipstream, closing the gap to the car ahead. He's got momentum, he looks, doesn't commit. Bit too far behind. Phil gets a pretty good exit out of turn 9. Pulls away a little bit from the Red Bull driver, but he's gaining through turn 10, thanks to the power of the slipstream. Phil surely, he's got to be feeling the pressure now. Nas is on his gearbox and is ready to fight. Around turn 12, around turn 13 now. Phil drives away just a little bit. Big understeer at the opening part of turn 14 there for Mr. Nas. It costs him a couple of tenths. Can't afford to lose those tenths. They're so critical in a race like this. And there are such fine margins. Round turn 1. Into turn 2. Up towards turn 3. 5-car train here. Battling for P6 as Saucy retakes third. Who's back in front of Mighty Wombat. Ultimately meaningless. Unless, of course, Saucy can find a way to get a warning or 2 removed, which is entirely possible, to be fair. RF1 Tom looking to join the battle. You can see the straight line speed Little Mick has. It's tight through turn 8 between all 3 cars. Lime, Mick and Tom. Really tight stuff. Oh, Mick looks to the inside, heading towards turn 10. Tom looking round the outside. He's got the grip, he's got speed. He almost goes into the back of Little Mick. He goes round the outside of Little Mick. Heading around, turning it. Contact though! Mick tried to send it down the inside. At the exit of turn 11, it did not work. So Tom now up into P9. But he's got those 8 seconds worth of time penalties as Saucy gets another 3. Well, that's basically handed the podium to Mighty Wombat. There's still one final battle though. Phil and Nas going at it here for P6 on track. We head around turn 2, up towards turn 3. Nas surely, he's got something lined up down the Mistral straight. Phil has to see him coming. We head around turn 5. Saucy and Wombat still going at it. They don't need to. Oh well, I guess they want to fight it out on track. There you go. Penalties will ultimately determine that one. Phil, he's gained time. Nas has got DRS and a ton of battery though. The overspeed is monumental. A dive bomb from Phil. Contact though. Oh, and somehow Phil saves the car. But Nas moves into P6. The overspeed was ginormous. What a drive though from Blockman. That earlier spin pushed him down the order. He's recovered brilliantly. He'll win the French Grand Prix, and it'll be an Alpine 1-2 as well here in France. What a place to do it. It'll be Mighty Wombat who completes the podium places in third. Saucy drops down to fourth, almost dropped down to fifth. That place is Younglings, unfortunately. 6/10 separating P4 and 5 at the end of that race. Mr. Nars will take P6 with a late race overtake on Professor Phil, who finishes in a fine 7th. Subfurline P8, followed by his teammate Tom. Little Mick will not round out the top 10. It'll be his teammate John, who finishes on the soft tyre. Did he get fastest lap? No. The Harmless did, down in P16. Sergeant Bill P12, followed by Take It Easy, then Flavius, Insane Sparty will complete the points in 15th position. Man, oh man. Fantastic. Some hard fought battling, some interesting overtake attempts throughout that race. We had spins, we had dramas, we had a mechanical failure for KD, an actual mechanical failure. It all just kicked off here in Le Castellet. What could be the last French Grand Prix here on Race Spec Esports. Let's give it to John. We'll see how he performs in the final results screen. But for now, it's the podium celebrations. The French would be jumping up and down after this result. An Alpine 1-2 here in France. What a way to say goodbye to Circuit Paul Ricard. Blockman's your race winner, followed by Rebel in second. Mighty Wombat will complete the podium places in third. The unofficial results of the French Grand Prix. Blockman is your race winner, with Rebel coming home in second, and Alpine 1-2 in France. Followed by Mighty Wombat in third, completing the podium places. Saucy finishes in fourth, followed by Youngling in fifth, and Mr. Nars in P6. Professor Phil started 11th, he ended up finishing 7th, with Sunfalime in P8, Tom in 9th. John started P16, finished 10th. Fair enough. Driver of the day. I can give that to John. Absolutely. Little Mick, P11, followed by Sergeant Bill in 12th. Take It Easy in 13th. Then Flavius in 14th. Our final point scorer is Sparty in 15th. Although the Harmless ends up scoring a point for himself due to the fact he got fastest lap. Our only retirement was KD. That was because of an actual mechanical failure. A spring in his accelerator pedal became dislodged, so he had to retire out of the race. Really unfortunate, but that's racing, I'm afraid. Sometimes you just have those kinds of technical / mechanical failures. Oh, man. What a way to say goodbye. It's certainly not the most interesting circuit in the world. Certainly not. But I've had a terrific time commentating races at Paul Ricard as of late. Tier 1 Pacific Series was fantastic, and here in Tier 1 America Series, pretty good as well, must say. Paul Ricard, in its swan song race, decided to turn it on, and we had a pretty entertaining race. We'll say au revoir to Circuit Paul Ricard. We get to look forward to the new tracks coming in the new game. They'll be coming out shortly. No, that was a lot of fun. Congratulations to our top 3. Congrats to both Blockman and Rebel putting on a very, very fine performance. Blockman with that mega lap in qualifying went fastest of anybody from any tier this weekend here in France. Put together a very fine race and ended up winning the French Grand Prix. Rebel home in second, a tidy drive, completely mistake 3. Similar story with Mighty Wombat, just kept out of trouble and takes 3rd place. But I think, folks, with everything said and done, it's now time for us to end the stream. Thank you everyone so much for watching, and we'll see you next week for round 12 of the championship, the second sprint round of the championship too, at the Red Bull Ring for the Austrian Grand Prix. And next week is going to be a lot of fun. Tune in for next week's race. But until then, it's goodbye.